back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Omboy and this is Millennia Immigration Consultancy. Well, for Millennia, we mainly talk about everything to do with visas, work permits, permanent residency, relocating, student visas, visit visas. And in today's video, I want us to break it down. I want to make a video that is a combination of three topics, or rather three visas to three countries that I've been wanting to talk about and give my insight and also give some advice, because there's some new updates on some countries. As you know, diplomatically, countries keep changing immigration laws depending on the bilateral relations that they have. For example, you can find one country that was having very good diplomatic relationships with Kenya, and after some time things change, and this affects how even something like visas are issued. I'm gonna give an example that I noticed recently. There's a country called Central African Republic, and one can ask, how does a Kenyan get a visa through CAR? Initially, you could have been able to get a visa for Central African Republic from the embassy of France here in Nairobi. But since I'm assuming, this is an assumption, the bilateral relations between France and the Central African Republic, things have not gone very well, and I'm thinking the French are feeling they no longer need to do the favor to that country, because the Central African Republic does not have an embassy here in Nairobi. And this is just an example, and I remember for that client, we realized he can't get the visa from the French embassy, and then we tried now looking for options. So there is an embassy in Addis Ababa, but I also came to find out that that embassy, or rather the consulate, is not working anymore. So we tried going through the Cameroon embassy, and again that also hit a roadblock. Anyway, this is to just try and prove the point of immigration laws keep changing, and it's our job as Millennia or as visa agents to keep you up to date, so that you're not caught off guard when you need to travel. That's when you realize, oh, I can't get this visa, or it's not as easy as I thought. And I think eventually the only thing that would have been possible was to go to Cairo, apply for the visa from there, and then travel to that country. But you see, for a Kenyan going to Egypt, you also need a visa. Anyway, now I'm just gonna bookmark this here so that I don't forget. Today we'll talk about three countries: Dubai, or rather the United Arab Emirates, and I'm talking about the Dubai visa, not the Abu Dhabi one, just the Dubai visa, Turkey, and Thailand. And in my line of work, I have to admit that these were not countries that I did not have as much experience with them. For those who know me, you know that we are specialists mainly in Australia, UK, and Schengen and American visas. But these countries that I'm mentioning, Dubai, Turkey, and Thailand, are very common destinations for many Kenyans. And so over the years, we have done a number of visas for Dubai, for visits, vacation, for families, for individuals. Turkey, we've also done for business, people who go for business, business people. And Thailand is also a popular tourist destination for Kenyans. And at first it was easy, but there has been some new changes. But let's start with Dubai, because it's Dubai that I have an update. And Turkey is more of, it's not an update, but it's just something for you to note in case you're trying to apply for a visa. And Thailand deserves its own video, but I'm gonna do a combination because I don't want to make another video. I'm too busy. Now for Dubai, a lot of Kenyans have gone to Dubai, and if you haven't gone to Dubai, then you know someone who's gone to Dubai. So it's common knowledge that getting the Dubai visa should be relatively easy for Kenyans, right? But of late, and when I say of late, I mean since the month of maybe September, last month, October, up to this moment, as of today while I'm making this video, Dubai visas have become a little bit problematic. Those of you who get the visas from visa agents in Nairobi, perhaps you have called an agent and your agent told you we are not able to do the Dubai visa because of, one, the age factor, and yeah, mainly the age factor. So this is what is happening. We have had a temporary ban on Dubai visas from Kenya to Dubai because of the number of Kenyans who have traveled to Dubai on visit visas and have gone to work, which is, it's not the ideal way of doing things. When you go on a visit visa to whichever country, you're not supposed to be working. But of course, because of the circumstances, the economic circumstances in our country, and just, you know, looking for better opportunities, a lot of Kenyans go to Dubai and many other countries around the world, and they end up working there. So they end up overstaying the visit visas. They're not able to, a number of things happen. The first one is you can travel outside the country. You can go to Dubai, you can go to the US, you can go to whichever country, Canada, UK, and Australia, and or whichever country in this world, and you go there on a visit visa with the intention that when you get there, you'll be able to find a job. Sorry, my heater is, I'm at home and it's really cold. My apologies. Just put it a little bit further. So you can go to those countries and with the intention of finding work, and it has worked for a lot of Kenyans. I think we all know someone who went to a foreign country and they found work and they've been there for the last 2 years or 3 years and they're doing well, and that's amazing, right? We are Africans, and sometimes these countries do not give us the easiest pathways to relocation or to find work. So if one can find a way to get there and then they can sort themselves out while they're there, then so be it. Maybe you have a family or a friend, someone who's willing to host you or to hold your hand, to show you, go find a job there, try this company, take your CV there. And a lot of people have been successful. But of late, there has been an influx of Kenyans going to Dubai to work. Blue collar jobs, mainly I'm talking about blue collar jobs because that is where the majority of the people lie. Delivery jobs, cleaning jobs, barista, waitressing, housekeeping, you know, basically manual jobs, construction, drivers, all those kind of jobs. So the Emirati government put a ban, or has put a ban. I don't know when they're going to lift it. I'm hoping they're going to lift it before December because a lot of Kenyans go to Dubai for vacation, but we'll see. So they've put a ban, and one requirement for you to get the Dubai visa as of right now is that you have to be over the age of 40 years. And of course that means they're trying to cut the number of young people who can go to Dubai on visit visas and then they start working there illegally. So that is one update. So when you call your visa agent telling them to get your Dubai visa, they might tell you they're not able to do that. And if they don't tell you that, then they are going to engage you, but they're not going to be able to assist you with the visa because of the age requirement. If you're not over 40, sahi ni ngumu kupata that visa. Even if you've been there severally, it's still a little bit difficult. But I'm hoping they're going to lift the ban so that, you know, it's good. We live in a global village. We should be able to move from one country to another. The other update is another requirement that they did not ask for previously, which is a police clearance certificate. So now it has become necessary for you to, as you submit your documents, your passport photo, your travel, hotel booking, your flight reservation. Now you also need the good conduct, and of course it has to be valid. So those are the main two updates for Dubai: the age factor plus 40 years, and the police clearance certificate. If you are above 40, the best thing for you to do so that you don't get a rejection on your visa is just to present all these documents to your visa agent, so that you give yourself the best chance at getting the visa. Getting a visa refusal is very disheartening, so if you can avoid it, avoid it. All right, so that is for Dubai. There were only two updates that I thought I should point out, that right now things are a bit tricky getting the Dubai visa, but we're hoping that things will come back to normalcy and we can process these visas. For us as Millennia, when we do the Dubai visas, we are able to get it in 3 working days. 3 working days. So assuming Friday is not a working day for them, because it's a Muslim country. So if you give us your documents on a Monday, you should be able to get your visa on Wednesday, or by the end of the day of Wednesday. And it comes with a travel insurance, and it's inclusive of the visa fee. So when you contact us and you ask for a quotation, what we quote is all inclusive. There's no other money we are going to ask from you regarding that visa. From there, once you get the visa, the only other thing you buy is your flight ticket. Okay, now let's talk about Turkey, the country, not the bird. The country Turkey, Istanbul. It's also another country that it looks like it's easy to get a visa, but of late they have been very strict with visas. So this is a country that was not very difficult to get a visa initially, but lately they have been very tough, and we've been seeing a lot of rejections, and we've been trying to figure out why are people being denied these Turkish visas. Now, Turkey is a country that it's a mixture of Arab and European, somewhere in between. It's a very good country. The economy is doing well, and obviously where the economy is doing well, they need workers. And as always, Kenyans are among the forefront of people who go outside the country to find work. So over the last 1 year or 2 years, or maybe let's say since COVID, Turkey has seen an influx of Kenyans going there to do blue collar jobs, and blue collar jobs are the ones I mentioned. And previously, I think I know a lot of Kenyans who've gone there on visit visas and ended up working, even as house girls, or do we call them domestic managers nowadays? But you know what I mean. And waitressing, these semi-skilled jobs. But again, it's not the proper way to do it. So the embassy has also become very strict on the documents that we present to them. And for Turkey, they need the kawaida documents: passport photo, a letter of invitation. Let's talk about that. If someone is a Turkish citizen and they're the ones inviting you to go to Turkey, first of all, a visit visa is only valid for 6 months, not more than that. So if you're being invited by a Turkish citizen, then that Turkish citizen has to send you a letter of invitation, and the letter of invitation is sent to you, stating your relationship and how long you'll be there, and what you'll be doing in those days that you'll be visiting your friend. If it's from a business, then you still need a letter of invitation, but from a business partner. Now, Turkey, I'm going to talk about 3 categories of visas that are the most common ones. Of course, there is many others, but I'm talking about 3 that are very common for Kenyans that we have personally processed, so we can talk out of experience. And the first one is obviously a visit visa, when you want to go to Istanbul for a holiday or to visit a friend or family there. There is also a business visa, which is also a very common visa that is applied for by many Kenyans, because Turkey is a hub for supplies of textile and a lot of other things. Then there's also a conference/exhibition visa, which is also another very commonly applied for visa. Now, whichever category, these are short-term visas, and the process is the same. You gather your documents. This is now for Turkey. You put together all your documents, the ones that I've mentioned, and the other one I haven't mentioned is a bank statement, because you need to show proof of funds. Turkey is very strict. It's become like Europe. Proof of funds mainly means it's not about how much bank balance you have. They need to see your statements for the last 3 months or 6 months if you're self-employed, showing that money comes into your account and leaves your account. They want to see those transactions, and of course the balance should be sufficient to pay for the trip, to buy the ticket, to pay for the hotel, to pay for the visa. So you need to show that proof of funds. If you're employed, you also need to attach a contract or an employment letter from your employer, clearly stating your position in that company, your salary, your responsibilities and your duties in that company, your type of employment, whether it's part-time, full-time, contract, remote, hybrid, whichever. You also need a leave letter from your employer stating that they are aware you'll be away and you're traveling to Turkey from this date to this date, and they are expecting you to come back. These are ties to your home country. You need to prove that you're going to come back after your visit. Those are ties that are economic, and of course, as you attach those, attach your pay slip. As you're attaching your bank statement, also attach your pay slips, maybe the last 3 pay slips from your job, and the leave letter and the contract. If you're going on behalf of your organization or your company, then maybe it's your company that is sponsoring that trip. Your company needs to write you a sponsorship letter stating that they're the ones paying for everything or part of whatever they're paying. So all these have to be clearly stated. If someone else is sponsoring you, maybe you're a student or your spouse or your parent is sponsoring you, they also need to write you a sponsorship letter stating that they're the ones who are going to be paying for the trip. Okay. Now, there is sometimes you find that it's a romantic relationship between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. So these are not couples in the conventional, manner. It's not very official. And you'll forgive me, but I have to speak about this because these are the things that actually happen. Assuming you meet a man, you're a young woman from Kenya, and you meet a Turkish man, or from whichever country. And I'm gonna, again, allow me to apologize before I say this, but I have to speak about it because these are real life scenarios. These are real life things that we see in our line of work. So you're a young woman from Kenya, maybe you are, let's say under 25 or under 30. And then you sign up on a dating site and then you meet an older man. You're African, okay? I'm talking about a scenario from Kenya. So you're a Kenyan, you're an African woman under 30, under 25, 18, 19, 20, 23 years. And then you get on a dating site because nowadays people meet their partners in all forms of ways. So a lot of people meet their partners online. So maybe you met your partner on a dating site or on social media, TikTok or Facebook or however. But in this case, this partner of yours, this man is an older white or European or Turkish, Arabic. He's not African, okay? So there's an age gap. So there's the difference in race and then there's a difference in age. And I'm not talking about a 5-year age gap. I'm talking about a considerable age gap, maybe over 10 years. So maybe you're 25 and your partner is 40, 50, 60, 70. And they want you to visit, maybe they want you guys to go on vacation to a place like Turkey. We're still talking about Turkey, yeah? So they want you to go to Turkey on vacation. So assuming your boyfriend is Turkish, so he wants you to visit him in his home country. And this is a scenario where you as the Kenyan young woman have probably never been outside the country. So you don't have a travel history. You recently just got your passport. Maybe you got it 1 year ago or 2 years ago, but you don't have a travel history. Your passport is blank. You've not even been to Tanzania. And then you meet someone and they want you to travel with them to go visit them in their foreign country. We're talking about Turkey. Now, for most cases, what I have seen is, and I don't mean this to offend anyone, I'm just talking about how the reality, kwa ground, venye kwa ground vitu ziko. You don't have a formal employment in Kenya. So you don't have a contract with anyone or an employment letter. You are self-employed, but you don't have the business licenses. So you can say, I sell clothes online, or I sell shoes online, or I sell handbags online. So you have something you do. You're not particularly jobless, or you could even be jobless, but the point is, you don't have papers to show what you do. You don't have your bank statement, because a lot of Kenyans don't have bank statements, because we don't use banks, we mainly use M-Pesa. And maybe also because of your economic situation, you have not gotten to a point where it is necessary for you to get a bank account or a bank statement. So you don't have papers to show that you have economic ties to your home country. But this person, your partner, is inviting you and is willing to pay for your trip. I'll be honest, yes, they can do a letter of sponsorship for you, and they can also attach their pay slips and their work documents and their passport, and show that they are willing to cater for your entire trip. But it's a bit high risk. There's a likelihood your visa could be denied on basis of lack of financial and economic ties to your home country. Even if they write the sponsorship letter and they send documents from their end. So there is no visa that is guaranteed, but the moment you personally do not have economic and social ties to your home country, your case is a bit of a high risk. Of course, we have processed this kind of visas and clients still get their visas, but when you realize that you may not meet all the requirements and there's nothing you can do to generate those documents, because if you don't have a job, there's nothing you can do unless you forge documents. So you first have to accept the situation you're in, and then we see the best way forward. What can we do? How can we make them believe that you're gonna come back to Kenya after your 2 weeks or 3 weeks visit? So still on that point of bank statement, we recently had an applicant who went to the embassy here in Two Rivers, and their bank statement was not, they had generated it the previous week. So when they went to the embassy, they were told that the embassy needed to see a bank statement that is recent as of that day. So again, this is something that was not there previously, but it's now there right now. So if you're going to submit your documents to the embassy of Turkey, please carry a very recent bank statement as of that day. And make sure it's an original bank statement. I know a lot of banks nowadays with mobile banking, they generate e-statements that are even verified. But the embassy, when they say they want an original statement, they want an original statement. As much as it's inconveniencing and nobody likes to go to the banking hall to make queues, for that visa application, just go to your bank, request your bank officer to generate a bank statement for you so that they can stamp it and put a signature so that it's an original statement, especially when you have to actually submit that statement physically. They'll be checking that. And sometimes someone has ever asked whether they call the bank to make sure if it's legitimate, or you know, and the embassy reserves that right. If they feel that they need to really confirm if the statement you have submitted is genuine or not, then they do have the right to follow up with your bank. Okay, so even if there is data confidentiality and all that, if they feel that they need to, then they will call the bank. Even in hotel bookings, sometimes you can book a hotel, maybe you're doing a Schengen visa, and the embassy actually calls that hotel to ask if it is true you have made a reservation with them, and whether you have paid or you haven't paid. Maybe you'll pay when you get there. So basically trying to find more information about you and trying to find out whether your case is genuine or not, they do have the right to follow up on that information. Now finally, about Turkey, they have two services, visa services. There's the standard service and there's the VIP service. The standard service, you take your documents there and you wait for around 14 working days, 2 weeks, to get your visa, or rather to get a response from them. The VIP service, you take your documents and then you wait for 5 working days, 5 working days only, and you have your answer. It's all about money. Of course, VIP service is a little bit more expensive than a standard service. Now, this is my own advice as Millennia. I've always advised my client, if you can afford it, every time an embassy offers you the option for a VIP service or a priority service or a fast-tracked service, take it. This is it is not backed by any kind of scientific research. It's just backed by my patterns I have noticed, that every time we have paid for a VIP service or a expedited service, we have always gotten the visa. So if you can afford it and spend that extra $100 or $200 and pay for the VIP service, you're most likely going to get your visa. Remember, I'm a visa agent. My job is to help you get your visa however way. So my job is to give you the tips and the tricks and the patterns that I have noticed for you to get the visa. That is my happiness. As if you get the visa, then I'm happy. All right. Now let's talk about Thailand. And I wish I could have done a separate video for Thailand, but let's talk about it anyway. Now, Thailand. I'm not gonna list all the documents that are needed, or I can just mention them in passing. Of course, you need passport. First of all, I didn't mention, the Dubai visa is an eVisa. So the visa, you will get it as a PDF document. You print it, you show it at the airport. The Turkey visa for Kenyans is a sticker. So they stick it on your passport. I think I'm gonna attach a sample of a Turkish visa that we have recently done. Thailand visa is an e-visa. So this process is online. You do not need to go to the embassy anymore as of 2025. So you create an account, you log into their portal, you submit your paperwork. You first submit your personal details, your contact, your address, your passport details, details of where you will be staying, and then now there's another section where you attach your documents. And now this is the section that this is the elephant in the room, because I understand they said they're going to update their systems, and I know they are trying to update their systems so that they can make it more friendly, because currently the documents they ask for are 5 documents but the documents they actually want to see are like 20 documents. So there's that. Someone may wonder, if they wanted to see this, why didn't they ask for it? And we're gonna get to that. So of course, you know, they will ask for your passport biodata, which is the part of your passport that has your picture and your names. They will ask for a passport photo. We have talked about this passport photo before, but it has to be a standard passport photo 35 to 40 millimeters size. If you just go to a good cyber cafe and tell them you want a specification for a visa photo, they're able to take a very clear one. Your face should be neutral. If you wear glasses, you can try to take them off. If you really have to wear your glasses, they should be clear. Your eyes should be visible. If you're a Muslim and you wear, or you're from a religion that you wear a head covering, you can just make sure your ears can be seen. You cannot be in this kind of earrings. So try and make your face, if you're a woman, very neutral, little to no makeup and no smiling, just neutral face. And it should be up to the top of your shoulders. So it's not a full portrait, but it's not also cutting you at the neck. Most cyber cafes understand this. Then of course, you also have to prove that you have social and economic ties to your home country. So they need you to show your employment letters, your contracts, your pay slips, your leave letters, and your bank statements. Those are the things that they ask for in their portal. There's also another part where they ask for proof of residency or a utility bill. This is where you attach something like a tenancy agreement if you live in a rented place, or if you live in a property that you own, that's where you attach your title deed. And then you can also attach something like a utility bill, Wi-Fi or water or electricity if you're still using meter. A document that shows your name and shows your address, where you live, not your address where you work, where you live. Now, there are some other documents that they want to see, especially of late, that they're not on their website. It's not public information, really. The first one is a yellow fever vaccine certificate. Apparently, Thailand has put some countries on their red list, and Kenya is one of those countries. So if you're coming from Kenya or you're using a Kenyan passport, you need to present a yellow fever vaccine certificate for you to get the visa. If you don't, there's a likelihood your visa will be denied just because of that. The other thing they don't ask to see, but they want to see, is a travel insurance. So please make sure you attach a travel insurance as part of your documentation. The other one is about the money. Okay, your bank statement should be original. This is for Thailand. They are very strict. Do not get an e-statement. It has to be original, and it has to be within the last 7 days. That is when it was acquired. Not enyeulitoa last month. It has to be within the last 7 days. And it should have a balance of, for the last 3 months, there should be a balance of at least 85,000 Kenya shillings every month for the last 3 months. Of course, it can be more, but that is the bare minimum. So if you apply this month and last month your balance was like 10,000 shillings or 20k, there's a likelihood it's going to be denied, because they want to see a consistency of being able to provide for that trip and to pay for that trip. So they also want to see regular transactions. I don't know. And the yellow fever should also be issued within the last 10 days. Of course, travel insurance, get the comprehensive one. If you just talk to your travel insurance agent, tell them to give you the most comprehensive one. Or they'll just ask you, which country are you going to? If you tell them Thailand, they'll give you something that is curated for Asia. Again, if you don't have these work documents or a bank statement, you can always be sponsored, but they mainly like seeing sponsorship between a parent and a child, or a spouse and a spouse. But if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, especially if the boyfriend, those things I've talked about, they're not even in the country, it's a bit tricky, but it's worth giving a chance. So I don't think there's anything else I'm missing, and those are the things I wanted to talk about today: Dubai, Turkey, and Thailand. And just before I end this video, I just want to say that Millennia does not guarantee any visas. We do our best. And so far, we have had a very high success rate. We do not always get our visas, we have to be honest, because it is up to the embassy. It's up to the discretion of the embassy to issue a visa. So I can do my best as a visa agent, you can do your best, you can be a very genuine traveler, and you still get denied. The best thing to do is to know that visa refusals are not personal. It is not personal to you. It is just, and it's not a rejection to you as a person, it is a refusal of the application that you have submitted. For the most part, if you do a good application, a very airtight case that is understandable, you will get your visa. There are many other factors that determine. You have to understand that these visa approvals and refusals are done by human beings. So sometimes there could even be human error. And that is why things like making an appeal is an option, because sometimes you can be judged wrongly by the embassy and you might feel like the embassy needs to look at your case again, because according to you, you feel like you've done everything they wanted to see. Sometimes you could miss something that they wanted to see, and then you did not attach that document, or there's information you did not share with them about yourself. The other thing I would want to tell you guys is that the embassy does not know you. The visa officer does not know you. So you could be having the most strongest ties to Kenya, socially and economically. You could have a family in Kenya, a business, a whole empire in Kenya, and you can be like, why would I want to leave this country? Of course I'm coming back. But unless and until you share that information with the person who will be reviewing your case, then they don't know you. We have worked even with some dignitaries, some very famous people, but the consular officer does not know you. Even though you think you're a famous person or you're known, they don't know you. So you still have to humble yourself and present your case in a way that is easily understandable and in a way that is convincing to them that you're a genuine traveler, so that when you say you're going for a visit, it looks like you're going for a visit. When you say you're going for business, there's evidence of that. If you want to go work in a foreign country, there are work visas, which is the pathway and the safest option for you to do is to follow the right channels. Because like right now in America, with the Trump administration, a lot of people, and not just Kenyans, not just Africans, everybody who had gone to America is now being called an illegal immigrant, as long as you went there on a visit visa and then you overstayed. Visit visas are the easiest ways to land into a country, but visit visas are not how you go and start working. So yes, it works for many people, but there's also people who've been deported, and we cannot ignore the statistics, especially with America and with Trump. I would not advise anybody right now to go to America on a visit visa hoping to assimilate into the system. How are you going to assimilate into a system that is actively on a daily basis trying to root out people like you? If you have a friend or a family, and I might be hated for saying this, but I have to say this. If you really have a friend or a family in America and any other first world country, especially, that is common and very popular with Kenyans, if you have someone who can tell you that you come, ukifika nitakuonyesha venye utapata kazi, or I'll host you, if they can do that for you, and if they're willing to do that for you, including paying for your ticket if you get the visa, they in that country should be the ones knowing very well that getting there on a visit visa and trying to find a job is difficult or impossible. Why don't they tell you, send us your documents, send us your CV, send us your skills and all that. Let us go and present your resume to a number of employers here, and then they can send you an offer letter, and then now we can process a work visa to Australia or to the US, or they can tell you, I'll pay for your course. So these are just some of the things that if you have a relative or a friend telling you, they are willing to host you, wewe ujue venye utafika huko. It's a bit of misguidance because they know, even them, they are not there illegally. If they were there illegally, they would not be inviting you, because the moment, if they are illegal, they can't even send you a letter of invitation because they are not willing to expose themselves there. So if they are there legally, maybe they went there on a green card, or they went there on student visas and then they ended up working there, then they know very well how difficult life is for people who are there illegally. Because yes, you might find a job, but one, your information is not even on the system, so you're being paid in cash, maybe in dollars. Every day you're looking whether there is a police officer coming your way. You know, it's you won't have peace of mind even working in that country. You'll feel like you're a criminal and you're not. So the best way for our friends and our relatives who are abroad, if you really want to help someone, is to help them get there through the proper channels. And before I forget, Canada, I think those years after COVID, they had allowed for something called an open work permit, which was basically you go to Canada on a visit visa. And when you get there, as long as you can find a job within the next 6 months, then you're allowed to transition into a work permit. But that rule stopped working this year, January 2025. So as of January 2025, you can no longer go to Canada on a visit visa and then transition into a work permit. That is the only country that I know allowed that kind of a thing legally. Everybody else is doing it illegally. Germany, they also have an open work permit, but you apply for that open work permit from Kenya. So even when you're going to Germany, they know you're not there on a tourist visa. They know you're there on an open work permit. You go there, they give you 1 year to find work. If you can find a job within that 1 year, you transition into something more permanent. If not, you're supposed to come back home. But Germany is a bit lenient because they allow you to extend. Of course, you have to do an A1 certificate, so you have to get at least the proficiency level of the German language, speaking and listening, and I think writing, just A1, and then you're good to go. And of course, you have to have around 2 million, is it around 2 million Kenya shillings in your bank account? Because you're going there, you have to rent a place, you have to have insurance, you have to be able to pay your bills as you find a job. So those are the countries. Australia and Canada, they have pathways to permanent residency, but they mainly attract highly skilled individuals. Those are the people who are mainly accepted if you try to do work visas, or you try to go there for permanent residency. People in the healthcare sector, IT, professors, a lot of university lecturers, a lot of teachers from Kenya go there. People who work like scientists, researchers, guys in construction, engineers. Those are the guys who qualify, because permanent residency, whether in Canada or Australia, even the HB1 visa for America, which is very popular with Indians, it's based on a point system. So you score points. Like we have a client where he's a chef. So chef is also a highly skilled occupation. So you enter those systems, you do an IELTS test, so you do a language test, and you have to pass. At least, okay, fail 6.0, but a good grade is 7. That's a good average for a language test. So you have to do a language test, you have to do a language test. You have to, the other thing they look at is your work experience. How long have you been experienced in what you're going to contribute to them, and your education certificates. They also look at your age. You cannot be older than 45. They also look at whether you have a spouse or not. So if you have a spouse, they actually increase your points. So it's a points-based system. If you qualify, remember you're not the only one. It's millions of other people all around the world. If you qualify, now they give you an invitation to apply for a work visa. And of course, when you go there, you start with a temporary work visa for 2 years or 3 years. And then they monitor you, including your character and your law-abidingness, and then they reward you with permanent residency. So it's a points-based system. So if you're not unfortunately, if you're very young or you don't have much of an education or skills, ama you do a language test and you fail, then those pathways might not work for you. And I think these are the reasons why a lot of people from Kenya or maybe Africans try to go to these countries on visit visas and then try to get into the work system, because it's the easiest way. And I was wondering how comes it's Indians or guys from India, not the Kenyan Indians, the Indian Indians, who are very common with HB1 visas, especially for America, because these are guys who are in the what do they call it now? The artificial world. They work for Google, they work for all these AI companies, ChatGPT. It's very, very common with Indians. Perhaps one day a lot of Kenyans, young Kenyans, will also be scouted by these AI companies. And we can also have a huge tire of Kenyans where we are processing all those kind of visas that are highly skilled, especially in the IT sector. There's also another visa we've recently done. It's not very common with Kenyans because it's an investor visa. So it's you as a Kenyan going to invest in a company in America, which also means that's the kind of a person who has a very high net worth. So anyway, these are new visas that are becoming more and more common with Africans, and that's a good sign that we are not only going there to work as house helps. There's also Kenyans that are going there to start businesses and who are going there to work for very big companies. Anyway, that's it for today. Once again, thank you for joining us. I don't know, the next time I'll make a video, but in case we need to discuss something else, we will do a video. As always, you can always reach us on call or email or text or WhatsApp. Our contacts are in the description. You can also plan to visit our office. It's at Eaton Place, second floor, United Nations Crescent. It's in Gigiri, just behind Village Market. Yeah, that's where the office is. Of course, you have to book an appointment so that we can know when you're coming, and we can also, it helps us prepare for our meeting, because immigration is it's a very large scope. So it's necessary, if it just makes my work easier if I can know you are coming for a Schengen visa, you're coming for a Spanish visa, you're coming for a deportation case, then I'm able to prepare myself. If you're not able to make it to Nairobi, we do our virtual consultations. Virtual consultation or physical consultations, the consultation fee is all the same. It's just 5,000 shillings for a 1 hour consultation. And for consultation with us, you only pay one time, and then once you become our client, you can always consult for as many times as possible. It's a lifetime subscription. So thank you very much. In case you have any questions, I might not be able to reply to comments, but if you can call me, then I'll be able to answer all your questions. Thank you so much, and I wish you well. Bye.